Hey, I'm Dustin.
And I'm Steve. Welcome back, listeners, to the finest phototainment in the world. That's right, you're listening to another episode of the Wedding Photo Hangover Podcast, an irreverent look at wedding photography. This podcast, like aspirin, will help you recover from your wedding hangover. And to help you recover from your wedding hangover this week, we have on two amazing photographers from UC, Marianne Chua and Kari Bellamy. She even told me when we were recording how to pronounce it, and I still can't get it. Anyway, they do a great podcast and YouTube channel. The podcast is called the Amazeballs Wedding Photography Podcast, and the YouTube channel is called Chua and the Bell.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's kick it over to the interview.
Let's do it.
Wedding photo hangover with Chua and the Bell, doing all the things that you know they do well. Oh, wedding photo hangover with the Chua and the Bell. Oh yeah, what the hell?
Today, Dustin and I are super excited to be joined by... Oh, wow. I should have asked about pronouncing these names ahead of time. I always forget that.
Please say it as wrong as possible. That would be amazing.
Do it. Go for it.
Kari
Try.
Bellamy and Marianne Chua.
That's actually pretty close.
I was going to say, normally my surname is the one people get wrong, so well done on that.
I was basing it completely off of the theme song for your guys' podcast.
Oh.
I was like, there's no way that dude says it right? So for listeners out there who don't know, Kari and Marianne, they do a YouTube channel / podcast called the Amazeballs Wedding Photography. Is it show at the end? Is it YouTube? Is it podcast? Or is it just Amazeballs Wedding Photography?
Yeah.
It's very funny. It's very good. It's crazy because it's like it shows that intelligent people can have podcasts too and talk about things, not just people like me and Dustin.
That's right.
Repping the nerds.
But it's very interesting, and they have this great theme song that they was it like horrible logos and theme songs or something like that you guys paid to have that done?
Yeah, there's a guy you could pay, I think it was like $5 or $10 for a logo, and then it was like $15 for a theme tune, and it's horrifically bad, but it's so good at the same time. So we've started taking to having him do like theme tunes for friends as like ringtones. Like if you have money that you don't know what to do with, it's a perfectly great option.
I need to get to that level of having money that I just don't know what to do with.
I'm not at like private jet level, but I'm like buy terrible logos and theme tunes for friends level of money. And I think that's what being an adult's like.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Still trying to get to adulthood, so rough over here.
I do the same thing with domain names.
What's the most ridiculous domain name? We still haven't introduced ourselves, but what's the most ridiculous domain name that you have?
I am the proud owner of betterthanpoop.com.
It has so much potential.
And then I just forward that domain to any friend that I'm feeling animosity towards that week or month. So I think it's still pointed to my college roommate's website.
Okay. And you could actually do like the whole like subdomain thing with that. So you could be like Dustin is .betterthanpoop.com.
Now you're really thinking. Let me get a pen. What else you got?
I charge after this.
So the two people on the podcast with us today are Kari and Marianne. Kari's the one with the, I think you describe it on your website as more of a Yank accent.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bastardized Yank accent, but I that's how people know me in the UK is because I'm one of the few token Americans. But I've lived in England for about 10 years now, and my husband's Canadian, so I probably sound more Canadian between the English and the Canadian than I do American. I'm from Delaware. Like, I don't sound like a Delawarean. So if you hear a female American, it's me.
And if you hear someone who starts British and then slowly, because everyone else sounds American to me on this podcast, it starts gently evolving into a sort of really offensive American accent, that would be me.
Oh, please fake one. That would be so much fun.
Oh, give us your most offensive American accent. That'd be fantastic.
Well, I just have this problem of, when you go traveling and people who pick up accents really quickly when they go, it takes me just a few days. So when I go back to Singapore to speak to to visit my relatives, I end up just being like, Nola, like all over the place. So I feel like I need to warn the public that that's what's going to happen by the end of this podcast. I'll be like, guys.
Americans don't sound like that.
Oh, do they not? I'm tone deaf as well. I should probably warn you guys.
Oh, yeah. Do Americans tend to say guys quite a lot then? Is that like an American phrase?
Guys, this is like the best ever. And guys, I'm just so happy that we're all here together doing this. And guys talking about our American accents. Guys.
You should just full on go for Valley Girl. Be like, oh my God, guys, I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes, Steve, please.
So we wanted to talk to you two a little bit about what it is. You guys have both been doing wedding photography for quite some time. You guys are both really amazing wedding photographers as well.
Some might say Amazeballs.
Amazeballs, yeah. What made the two of you want to get into wedding photography originally?
So basically, I had a really terrible office job, and I picked up a camera again because I had done it a lot when I was younger, and I picked up a camera again just to kind of save my soul, which I think is pretty normal for a lot of people. And then I basically every free moment I had, I was shooting, and then I got engaged. And I was like, actually, I quite fancy weddings and I quite fancy photography. And I didn't even it never even occurred to me to do the two. So that's pretty standard, I think. And then I moved to the UK. So I shot one wedding and it was terrible. It was so bad. I did selective coloring, didn't know how to use a flash. It was horrific. It was horrific. And then I moved to the UK and I just kept trying. Mostly because I have a degree in accounting and I worked as an auditor, and being an auditor sucks. And some people love it, which is fine, but it just really wasn't a good fit for me. So I just decided, I was like, you might as well, you only live once, YOLO, jump off a cliff. And in the process of moving to the UK, I ended up getting enough work. And so, yeah, it was mostly just because I like people and I think people are really interesting. I don't really care about the white dress, but I like people. And wedding photography actually pays money, which is really good. It's a good way to make a living as a photographer. So, you take pictures, you get paid. It's really hard to do that.
And then all that money just disappears into logos and songs for your friends.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, what else are you supposed to do with it? Pay bills? Invest? Terrible idea.
Maybe you should talk to an accountant.
Ironically, you moved from a country with a much higher average wage in wedding photography to one with a lower one. But
yeah, I didn't know that at the time. In hindsight, that was a bad decision.
Move back, go home.
Wow, just trying to push her out of your country.
Marianne's more interesting one because she went and got a PhD and decided then she wanted to be a wedding photographer instead.
Oh yeah, I did sort of the ultimate sort of tease, Asian parent tease and let down. Where I spent 8 years of my life doing a degree in psychology and got right up to that peak of qualifying and being qualifying as a doctor and all this kind of thing, and then instantly handed in the thesis and was like, oh, mum and dad, I'm gonna just go to people's parties and take photos of drunk people. I don't feel there was a point where I specifically decided to be a wedding photographer. I feel like it just happened to me because I shot my first one that was just a friend's mum getting married, and she just was like, look, well, why don't you give it a go? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I don't own a digital camera, but now's a good time. And that's true. I literally didn't own a digital camera at the time. I had to buy all the kit to shoot that wedding. When she asked me, I was shooting on little toy cameras, little film toy things. Mm-hmm. So she judged my work based on that and was like, well, that's good enough for a wedding. And let's see what you can do with proper technology. And then, and so I did that. And I just kind of found I think from the psychology thing, because I happened to have a knack for capturing people's emotions and I guess reading a room and stuff, that just happened to be what people wanted in weddings at the time. And it kind of escalated from there and snowballed. And then before I knew it, I was on a podcast with a bunch of people.
The highlight of your career thus far.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everything else in between was just a hazy blur.
Well, at least now you can call mom and dad and you can tell them, guys, I really made it. I was on the Wedding Photo Hangover podcast with Dustin and Steve.
And then you'd be like, what's a podcast?
Honestly, today I've just had that conversation with my mum because I just launched that new video for the Fujifilm X-T30 product launch. And I sent it to my mum and obviously it was like, oh, mum, I'm in this video. It's kind of cool. And she was like, what is it? And I said, oh, it's like an advert for a new camera. And she said, is it one of those adverts that pop up in the middle of when I'm watching movies on the internet? It's really annoying. And I was like, I mean, no, Mum, it's going to appear on maybe some photography websites and Facebook. And she was like, oh, okay, then well done. I'm done. I was like, I'm not a Viagra spam advert, Mum. Don't worry. Yep. But yeah, so that's a level.
Almost wasn't proud.
Yeah, she had to check first. But that's the story of my parents and their following of my career is a general sort of misunderstanding and then just an acknowledgement.
I love that. Just as long as your career doesn't mess with their movies, they're okay with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Big shout out to the Korean film industry.
Marianne, are you still shooting? I know on your website it said that you shoot for Secret Cinema. Do you still do that?
Yeah. Do you guys have them in America? I think they did a New York stint or an LA stint or something. Yeah, I'm still doing that, but they do shows maybe like twice a year, maybe 3 times a year at the most, because the productions are quite big. So they've got Casino Royale coming out soon. And
cool.
Usually I get told when to come in about a week in advance. So I assume at some point I'll get a call, but yeah, I still shoot for them.
Oh, cool.
It's a good friend to have like as a perk because I've gone to the last bunch of them for free. They're actually quite expensive to go to. And so I get to go for free to help Marianne scout. But I usually don't get very much advance notice. I usually get the advance notice on the same day. And you have to show up to these things in costume as the movie characters, which gets really challenging when you're like told that day, like, okay, today this evening, you have to be in the Romeo and Juliet thing. And it's like, you have to like come up with an outfit. And then last year was Moulin Rouge, and I had to come up with a Moulin Rouge outfit in about 2 hours.
I was just like, Kari, you've got some underwear. Put some on, come out.
And Kari was like, nope, fresh out.
So for people who don't know, what is the Secret Cinema thing?
Oh, it's just a live, I think they officially describe it as kind of a live theatre experience. Mm-hmm. They will essentially have a film and then they will create like the live experience of that film beforehand. And you kind of do that for a couple of hours and then you watch the film itself. And usually there's a lot of performances throughout the film. And it's just a fun night out, I think, where you just get to go and enjoy a bit of cinema, but in a slightly extra way.
They like recreate the environment of a film in like the closed, kind of in a closed area. And then nobody has any phones. You're not allowed to take any photos. So the only photos that exist of this are from their official photographers like Marianne, which is actually quite nice because then you get disconnected from the world. Like not everybody's on their phones all the time. And then like everybody dresses up as like you kind of get told roles and you kind of dress up in the characters. So like at the Moulin Rouge ones, people were dressed up as like prostitutes and gentlemen, which is quite fun. And then like they did, I have to remember all the names. So, like they did the Romeo and Juliet one, which you had to dress up like it's the 90s, stuff like that. And it's everybody really gets into the world of these movies because a lot of them are cult classics, which is, and people really get into it there. And there's nothing really holding anybody back because like nobody has their phone. So it's just kind of,
They should hire you instead of me because you're much better at explaining things than I am. I'm just like, it's a thing. What Kari said.
As a photographer, do you have to dress up as well?
Yeah, so I have to wear stuff that is in keeping with the theme. The other funny thing is that sometimes when you're there, you're meant to kind of go along with the improv nature of it. Mm-hmm. But I am absolutely shocking. And once I got accosted by some punters who thought I was... Because I was taking pictures, they obviously saw my camera and thought, oh, she's a dodgy character. And this was a Blade Runner where the task they were given was to accost dodgy characters. Mm-hmm. So they arrested me thinking that I was like someone who was meant to be arrested. I went with them thinking that they were actors and I was just temporarily helping them out, not realizing they were just, like Joe and Mary from Clapham. And it got to the point where once I realized that they were actually just punters and I obviously need to get back to work, I had to sort of, instead of really going into the improv stage, I kind of gave a security guard / actor a stink eye look in a kind of please help save me way. And even he was thrown and he had to suddenly be like, where are you guys going with this, I don't know what he said, but, and they responded and he had to try and think of a way of explaining to them, no, don't arrest her because she needs to do stuff, but in character. So he just stood there and he was like, I believe this person is with the establishment. I could just see him struggling and I just thought, thank you for struggling on my behalf because I did not have the mental headspace.
It's a very weird job when you get arrested by people in like the Blade Runner world. You have to keep it up.
I just signed up to take photos. That's all I can do. I can't act. There's a reason why I'm here. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of that going on. But yeah, so Normally not full costume, but it's something that's in keeping, usually something dark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What's the craziest costumes you guys have ever had to come up with for something like this?
I think I probably do it. I probably dress up in costume a bit more because like I'm not actually working. I'm there helping Marianne. Yeah. So I think it was mostly like the funniest one was the Moulin Rouge one because that was all quite indoors and they recreated like 1890s Paris. And I had brought my husband with me at the time as well. And my husband's never seen Moulin Rouge, so he had no idea what the fuck was going on. He was just like, why are they all singing Bowie songs? Why are we in Paris? And then he was like, so I like put like this top hat on him. He's like, why am I wearing a top hat? He had no idea what was going on, which is really fun. And it very drunk because they were serving a lot of very strong wine. So then I kind of like dressed it up. I think I dressed up as like a homeless person because I couldn't like swing the prostitute outfit at the time. In hindsight, I wish I dressed up like a man. I think that would have probably been a lot easier to do. But yeah, it's kind of like a London establishment. It's quite fun. Like if you ever come to London, you should totally try it because it's just people just go crazy. So which is nothing to do with wedding photography, but it's very film theater photography and it's quite easy to photograph, I think. Well, I don't know. I haven't shot it, but people are really going for it. Like the audience is into it and the actors are into it. And yeah, it's
really nice because it differs from weddings in the sense that like you've got obviously got all that professional lighting going on, very theatrical, very dramatic. Makes, for me, it's just something that's quite nice to diversify from kind of the wedding thing. So
That's really cool. So to get back to wedding photography, since ostensibly that is what this podcast is about.
Oh yeah.
And to get back to the two of you, what was the so I've listened to all of your guys' episodes of the Amazeballs Wedding Photography Podcast.
All 3 of them.
There was like 12. Then I checked today and there's only 4. And I was like, what happened?
Oh, wait, really? They took them down? Oh no.
I really like your guys' show. What was the impetus for the two of you to kind of make that move from just we're wedding photographers to now we're creating a show that has elements of humor and education inside of it?
I think we both feel really strongly about technical things as far as photography goes. And we're very strongly about like girls talking about technical things. Because a lot of times, I mean, as just a giant stereotype, it tends to be guys talking about technical stuff on like YouTube. Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of girls doing it. And I don't know if like girls are afraid of talking about it or there's just something that I think holds girls back from talking about more technical items online. Maybe they feel like people are going to like maybe say they don't know what they're talking about and that sort of thing. And both Marianne and I are very strong on like the technical stuff. We both really care about it. We both really like talking about it. So we were like, well, there should be more girls talking online about flash and how cameras work and why things work the way they do. And so we just, at first, the initial idea was just to do like a giant round table of girls talking about photography and not just talking about like the artistic elements of it, but talking about like why things work. And then we kind of came down, maybe it'd be easier just the 2 of us rather than trying to wrangle in a bunch of other people. So that was the initial idea. And then we realized that podcasting is slightly easier than YouTube videos because we don't have to meet up. Because we both work full time as wedding photographers. We both work a lot. We just don't have a lot of time to do it, which I'm impressed how many podcasts you guys have done because it seems very time consuming. And so that was just the initial idea.
It's very time consuming, Dustin.
Okay.
Very, very time consuming.
Maybe you can give me some tips on how to make it a little bit more streamlined. But it's mostly because we just think girls should be talking about these things. Girls should be technical and there shouldn't be anything holding it back. And hopefully hearing girls talk about these things will make it easier for other girls to talk about it as well.
I mean, that is one of the big reasons why we wanted to have you guys on. I think, Kari, you responded to me on Reddit when I was asking about like if there are any podcasts out there with female hosts that were about wedding photography, because Dustin and I, we've been doing this a while and we were just like, we don't know of any. And after, a lot of people called me sexist for even suggesting that I would want to listen to a podcast with female hosts, I got some cool responses like yours and checked out like your guys' podcast, and I just instantly fell in love with the way you guys talked about photography and your guys' sense of humor. I was just like, I wanted to have you guys on the show because I wanted to do whatever I could to help elevate you guys and bring you guys to a wider audience.
I thought it was just my mom watching this. What? Have I been duped? I feel like I was catfished.
Plus, all that stuff Steve said is true. Plus, you guys are really amazing wedding photographers.
Oh, thanks.
I don't know if you know that. You guys are pretty good.
I personally think I'm a bit shit, but I'll take it. That's fine.
I was going to say, so there's a really, well, British people generally are very bad at taking compliments. So that's why you were met with like a slight silence.
No,
Just don't know what to do with it. We don't know what to do with it.
No, it's okay. Every time we have a guest on, I gush about the guest, and the guest just looks at me like, gosh, what did I do getting on this podcast with this fanboy?
It's true.
I'm proud of our work. I think we do good work, but it's hard to take a compliment when you're like it's every day I always want to rip my website apart and just redo it, or like every image I see something, I'm just like, oh, I could just kind of fix that if I could just go back in time. It's hard to look at your work purely, or like being like just to sit back and be like, oh, that looks amazing, when like every little thing you want to tweak all the time. I don't know if you guys find that problem.
I love that photo you have where it's like the couple sitting in, I'm guessing it's some sort of like a brick area, and it's like this constant repeating pattern of like ovals behind them.
Oh, I have a story about that photo actually. That involves sexism in men actually.
Okay.
It's a really cool spot. It's a viaduct. It has trains that go from London to Brighton over top of it. It's Victorian. It's from like 1880s or some, it's England. This is shit like this exists everywhere. Like that's what England looks like. So I found photos of this place online. I was like, this place is amazing. Like it's really cool. The couple were keen to go, but it was like an hour drive up there on the wedding day. And so we had to talk about it and plan out and kind of make it work. And they totally budgeted the time to drive up to this viaduct and do this. I put like a step ladder in my car to get them up into it, because it's like a good 5-6 feet up. So the bride had to climb up into that in her wedding dress. So there was a lot of a lot of times with like epic photos, the work isn't taking the photo, the work is getting people out there to do it. Once you get the people out there, the photo takes itself. It's really easy.
Mm-hmm.
But getting people on their wedding day or after their wedding day to go out to this random location and to think ahead and bring everything you need with you, to have I was driving like a Fiat 500 at the time. The ladder took up like half the car just to make it work and get all this effort to get these people up into this viaduct for this photo. And as we're setting it up, this guy out of nowhere shows up and he's like, oh, I'm a wedding photographer too. How cool. Do you mind if I shoot over your shoulder while you're doing this? And I was just like, I didn't want to be really, but in a normal day, I would have chewed his ear off, but it was right in front of my clients. And I had actually just met them that morning. So I didn't really have an established relationship with them where I, some of my clients that I've known for a while, I would have just told them off right in front of them, but I didn't really know those people that well. And I was just like, I really rather you didn't. That would be great. And he did it anyways.
What?
Oh, you should have taken his business card at the end and blasted him.
Great. Yeah. Let me have your business card. I'd love to tag you in the photo online. That would be great.
That would be great. And then I will obliterate you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wish I could go back in time and just chase him down and really kind of give him a hard time. But it was just having someone, because it does take a lot of effort for some of these photos, and have someone just come and think that it's okay to just shoot over your shoulder like a stranger to do that.
Have you ever seen that his version?
No, I haven't. To be honest, I haven't really looked that hard.
Okay.
All you have to do is put Kari's version of the photo in a reverse Google image search, and then you see all these award-winning photos that this guy took. It's amazing.
I'm going to find this fucker after this podcast. Nobody calls my friends.
I cannot believe this guy came up to you. He obviously knows it's not something he should be doing, and so he at least asks permission. You say no, and then he does it anyway. The audacity of that situation.
Yeah, he does it anyway. And I was just so shocked by it. And I was still trying to be really, because I really didn't know the clients that well. I was still trying to be pretending like I'm a polite person. I should have just let it go. Anyways. But yeah, so that was a lovely story behind that photo. So every time I think of that, I think of that guy that was...
You're filled with rage.
Filled with rage.
Photo's just been ruined in your heart because of that guy. Jeez.
I know.
So how did the two of you meet? Because Kari, you're obviously American transplant to the UK. Mm-hmm. Marianne, you were saying earlier you have family in Singapore. Are you Did you immigrate to the UK from Singapore, or were you born in the UK?
No, I'm UK born and bred. So we actually met, I think, did we meet at Snap or did we meet earlier?
No, we met at the London Wedding Club.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, drinks, basically. Drinks is always going to be the answer.
Super fancy. I love
The
that.
UK wedding industry is really awesome. Like we have parties and we go out for drinks and we have breakfasts together, and like even just like not even just photographers but wedding vendors in general. There's been a couple of people who have gone out of their way to really organize meetups, especially like in London. And we have like a big epic Christmas party every year for the wedding industry, and it's just
tax deductible.
Mm-hmm. Santa shows up, it gets really messy.
Whoa, what?
She is being literal.
I'm serious. You sit on Santa's lap, like it's
whoa, and then Santa gets messy?
Santa gets messy. We have a really great like wedding community. Mm-hmm. And especially, and even like even more within like wedding photographers in general, like there's just a really great community of photographers. And so we had met, I think both of us it must have been at least 6-7 years ago. We had met at basically a morning brunch.
I've not been around for 7 years, so it must be 6.
It must be 6. I think Marianne was just starting.
I was just starting out, yes. So we've known each other for the longest time. So we are just friends. It's not really a colleague thing. We are just friends.
Yeah.
We meet all the time to play card games and board games mostly.
Like what?
All our friends now are wedding photographers, and we like just meet up on like a Tuesday, a Wednesday, and just have a day.
Literally next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday's the next one. Yep.
We meet up and play board games, and we all bring food and just hang out. And it's nice because wedding photographers, we all have the same schedule where we can't do anything on weekends. Mm-hmm. It's made my life a lot better in general because I don't feel isolated. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like I have like somebody I can ask if I have a problem. So it's like colleagues, but not. We're each other's competition, but we're not colleagues.
Yeah. I never thought of that in terms of seeing each other as competition anymore. I feel like, at the start you sort of expect that to happen, and then you just sort of realize actually we're all just individuals, obviously trying to make a living, trying to do our business. And as long as hopefully everyone's all able to do that, then there's no reason why we can't all just be friends and be hippies together.
Mm-hmm. And stab each other in the back. No.
That's just how you run your business, Dustin. Wow.
But it's actually
Indiana.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's weird is when there is somebody who's like that, they stand out quite a lot because pretty much nobody does that here, which I guess isn't the norm. Is it like that in Indiana where like people do, it's a little bit more competitive?
We used to have like a really strong community of wedding photographers here at the onset of when I got started. And then there was a photographer that was taking the things people were saying candidly and using it against them in like client meetings to like be like, oh, you're looking at that photographer as well. Let me tell you the story they shared. And then, so then it kind of built this like sort of veil of distrust amongst photographers. So when I moved here, it was really hard to try and rebuild that community. So I'm still working at it.
But Dustin lives like 2 hours away from me and my wife, and down here in the Indianapolis area, there's a really great community of wedding photographers that my wife hangs out with all the time. She has a ton of wedding photographer friends, and I just have this internet connection with Dustin, and that's all I have.
Oh,
it's all you need, Steve. It's all you need.
Come to London. Come to our Christmas party. You can meet Santa. And get really messy.
You can be Santa, Steve.
You can be Santa.
Whoa. I don't want to be the messy boy. Come on.
Well, somebody has to be Santa. We can't afford to hire a proper Santa. Like it has to be a Santa from the community.
Wait, are you telling me somebody plays Santa? He doesn't just come down from the North Pole? What is going on?
Look, we don't have money for that flight. Like we can't afford Santa to come down from the North Pole. Like
it's all on logos. It's all on logos.
I spent it all on logos.
His appearance fees are very high.
But like speaking of the community, we had the photography show was just this last weekend. We just finished it, which was like this big giant convention. And none of us really need to buy any equipment. We're not going for the equipment. We're just going to see our friends and hang out and business expense it. And then we ended up like, so Monday was the day that we all met up and we crashed some corporate parties. And yeah, it was like, it's nice to have friends you can do that with.
Crash parties with.
Crash parties.
Party crashers.
Yeah.
I was incredibly unsociable in those days because I was just full of jet lag, and so I just sort of like fell asleep, and then at some point woke up in the morning and Kari was in bed next to me. So and I just didn't hear you get in at all. I didn't hear you like. And
I was in bed. I crashed, and I brought back about 15 cupcakes from this corporate party that I had crashed. I don't know if I should say the name of the camera brand. I probably shouldn't because I wasn't an invited guest.
They'll find you and they'll bill you for those cupcakes.
I mean, bill me. But yeah, like it's a camera brand I don't use, and I was suddenly taking care of their open bar for them. So we sorted that one.
By taking care of their open bar, do you just mean drinking all of the alcohol, or?
Well, I mean, it's somebody had to. Like it was clearly there was a tap. But it was like it was fully catered, and they had corporate cupcakes and hats and a DJ.
So now you've just used that open bar and you've gotten all those cupcakes, and they're not getting anything out of this because you're refusing to say what brand of camera it was. You're really double sticking it to them now.
It's like the opposite of influencer culture.
I just wonder, like, if it'll come back to me because I wasn't technically on the guest list.
She's got to hide. She's wanted.
Yeah.
So let's maybe take a step back then. What camera brand do you shoot?
I shoot Sony.
Okay, so we know it wasn't Sony's party.
It's not Sony.
I shoot Fujifilm.
All right, Fuji.
It wasn't Fuji.
It wasn't Fujifilm.
It wasn't Fuji. So yeah, if it wasn't
Nikon.
Are you just trying to see our reaction?
Precisely.
That was one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about. You guys talk a lot on your show about shooting mirrorless and stuff like that. Dustin and I are both stuck in the DSLR land, firmly stuck, I would say. Dustin started purchasing some Sony gear for like more of his video stuff. And I would love to, but my wife and I are super invested into Canon glass and stuff, and we're just not ready to make that jump yet. So maybe someday.
Well, with Sony, you can really keep the Canon glass. Mm-hmm. The adapters work really well on the Canon lenses. So like you don't have to like, if you are thinking about maybe changing bodies, you can still keep all your glass. So it might not be as heavy as an investment as you think it is. Yeah. But like I keep telling people, like eventually everyone's going to be switching to mirrorless. Like that's just what's going to happen. So if you do it now, people will still buy your camera body because people are still using that camera body. If you wait a few years and everybody's already switched, it's kind of like having a gas car in an electric world. Like no one's going to buy the gas car anymore because no one's driving gas cars. Yeah. So at some point, what point do you jump off and say like, I should actually just get a mirrorless camera?
It'll be at the point when Canon puts one out that has 2 card slots.
So another 10 years?
Honestly, like using DSLRs now, it just feels crazy. It's just so heavy. Like just not having an electronic viewfinder. I tried to pick up a friend's Nikon recently, just to see because I came from Nikon. So just wanted to see what I was missing out on and see if I had any old feelings. And I just took one shot and I was like, nah, yeah, you're right. You're good.
The clunk is nice. The clunk. That's nice.
Really? Did you miss that?
No. I was trying to find something nice to say.
Oh, okay. Such a backhanded compliment.
Like the old, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it.
Yeah.
It's in general, like if it doesn't make financial sense, then don't do it. Like because you're still a business, you still have bills to pay. Like it's not necessarily going to change everything, but it has made me I think it's made me a better photographer in weird ways.
That's for me as well. I think it actually changed the way I shoot. So it does actually. I know people say gear doesn't make the photographer, but I think it can help a lot to do something different.
Yeah.
Like what? Like, so my problem is I want to go all in on mirrorless, but we built a house this year. So I'm going to wait one more year, but it's like at the same time, the old adage of like, well, if my photos are good enough for my clients now, why, like, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yeah. And I totally understand that. So like, when I make expensive gear purchases, I kind of like talk it through with my husband, because it is like, this is an expensive purchase that is coming out of my expenses. Like, I don't have to ask his permission, but it's nice to talk to somebody about it. Mm-hmm. And he kind of like will like argue like, well, will your clients notice the difference? Because like, you like gear, will your clients notice the difference? And then we were talking about mirrorless, and I was talking about silent shooting. He was immediately like, your clients are going to notice the difference. Because just for me to shoot an entire wedding without making any clicks, people notice that. Mm-hmm. Or they don't notice that. That's the perk, I guess. It's less obvious. But like, when I am talking about like how I shoot to clients, that's something I can explain and something that they can understand. And so like, a lot of times when I say like, oh, I went with this 85-1.4 instead of an 85-1.8, he's like, are your clients going to notice the difference between 1.4 and 1.8? Probably not. But they will notice the difference if you shoot an entire wedding without being like clack, 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 clack. They are going to notice. So it is kind of like, at some point you could say like, of course your photos are going to be good enough and your videos are going to be good enough because you're a professional, and that difference might be pretty small. But to some extent, when it starts becoming mirrorless, your clients may start noticing the difference, and they may not understand why, but there is going to be a difference.
I found going to something more lightweight. I mean, we're both pretty hench women, but I still found it quite hard to hold.
Wait, what was that term?
Hench? Is that not a thing in America?
That is not a thing in America.
Oh, we're both quite. What did you translate for me, Kari? What would it be?
We both are very passionate about physical fitness.
So that term boils down to hench.
I forgot that was
in America.
I thought it was. I'm sorry.
Oh, outrageous. Anyway, but yeah, so we're both. I actually thought it came from there. That's why I was surprised. Yeah, no. So I mean, we're both. What I'm trying to say is we're both kind of capable women physically, but I found like if I have to raise up a digital SLR for a really long amount of time in one hand when I'm shooting a dance floor, there is just a point I'm going to have to put it down. But with Fuji, I could probably literally do that for like an hour without really worrying about it. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not now, but it's not the camera weight that will be the limitation. It will just be the pure burn of my arm being up. So for me, in that sense, it just meant like not having to feel restricted on getting angles, having like a tilt screen that meant again that you could frame odd angles better. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm just saying angles a lot. Sweet baby angle.
How do you feel about angles, Marianne? I love angles.
But yeah, it's just things like that. So, and also even stuff like having the electronic viewfinder means like you don't have, like in the past, you would never have, now that you never have accidental sort of wrongly exposed shots, all that kind of stuff. So that cuts out kind of the number of missed shots.
And you're not chimping as well either, because you don't have to chimp to make sure that you got it. You know you got it because you see it on the screen as you're shooting it. There's not like, so you're not kind of doing the up and down. There's not as much second guessing. I shoot a lot in central London, and I'm constantly being yelled at by security guards. And it's kind of nice to get yelled at a little bit less because it's just not as obvious. Because I used to shoot with D4s, which are like fucking massive blocks of camera.
That's what I shoot with. Yep.
And it's a fantastic camera. I love the camera, but it's a big camera, and it's clear that's what you're doing is professional work. More with the Sonys, I still get yelled at, but I don't get yelled at as much. So it kind of makes a little bit of a difference there as far as just like sneaking in and being a little bit more of a ninja.
You do realize that basically all you do is sneak into stuff that you're not supposed to be in. Mm-hmm. Just professionally and socially.
That's true, actually. Yeah. I might have, like, this is a psychologist. Do you think I have a problem, Marianne?
Sneaky problem. Officially clock on. No, I don't know.
As a child, were you not invited to a lot of things?
No.
He's good. I like it. He's good.
I have a minor in psych. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's close to a PhD, just a few years less. And credits. And qualified.
But in I mean, you might not get this in Indianapolis as much, but like in like central London, the line between private property and property is you can't really tell. So there's places that are technically public, but aren't public property. So a lot of the places that are like around like Tower Bridge, which is like this really iconic place to shoot, they're actually private property. So they don't care if tourists are walking on there, but as soon as you bring a bride and groom on there, you're going to get yelled at. And that happens a lot. So I know now exactly where that line is, but especially if you're walking that line quite often, if you look a little bit less professional, it can actually be a benefit. And then it's less people you have to yell at in front of your clients, which kind of looks a little bit better as well. So anyways, unexpected perk of mirrorless.
Cool.
So Kari, do you find yourself yelling in front of your clients a lot?
No, just sometimes, probably.
That's why I don't. I was going to say that's why I don't do engagement shoots, because I can't yell at people.
I actually give my clients a disclaimer before we start shooting that if we get yelled at by at least one security guard, we're doing something right. That means we're pushing the line somewhere. So if we haven't gotten yelled at, we need to actually try and get yelled at by somebody, because that means we kind of just went a little bit farther than we were supposed to. And that means nobody else has done that either. So it's okay. So we want to get yelled at. It's a good thing.
Interesting.
Marianne, did I hear you just say you don't do engagement shoots?
Yeah. So no.
Why not?
Well, I kind of sell myself as a documentary wedding photographer. So I did them at the beginning, and I kind of had this theory that somewhere along the line, this is definitely going to get offensive, somewhere along the line, engagement shoots were kind of made up by photographers to just fill their time in the weekdays. And I don't have time for that. No, I'm kidding. I definitely appreciate that people, do them for a particular reason, like letting couples get comfortable in front of the camera. But the way I explain it to couples is that an engagement shoot doesn't really reflect the way I would shoot them as a couple on the day. So if they're wanting an engagement shoot because they think it's going to make them feel comfortable on the day, it's basically like burning yourself with an iron so that you understand what a cup of tea feels like. Because it's like an hour. In London anyway, it's like an hour. It's in public. You're like, there's no natural emotions. They're wearing like kind of the normal clothes. You know what I mean? There's like nothing real to work with. And then on the wedding day, when I'm doing the couple shoot, there's just so much more to work with. Like they got, professional. They've got their professional digs on, and they're like just got married probably, so they're like a bit excited probably. Just got married and hopefully a bit excited, and they've just got so much more to work with, and they're just in a different emotional state. So I think when I do a couple shoot on the main day, that's what I'm wanting to convey in the pictures. Mm-hmm. But in an engagement shoot, it's very posed, and I think it works for a lot of people. But as a documentary photographer, it doesn't make sense to me, I think, or make sense for the kind of clients I'm looking for. Not disrespecting anyone else doing it, but for me, I'm like, no.
I'm offended.
And this is the beginning of the breakup. Just here and just
I do a ton of engagement shoots, loads, yeah. And then most of my clients aren't actually my wedding clients. Most of them are Americans that are in London. Mm-hmm. I get a fuck ton of Americans in London who want to do an engagement shoot. And they don't actually realize I'm American until I show up.
And then they're disappointed?
A little bit. I think I might have to put on an accent. Because I think they want the whole, like, Cockney, like, all right, well, governor, we're going to walk down here.
All right, governor.
See, I get the opposite. So I get a lot of inquiries from Asian couples where it's very trendy to come over and have your pre-wedding shoot, as they call it, in some parts of Europe. So I have no posed photos or couple shots on my website whatsoever. So when I get this email, I can only presume that it's because I'm Asian. And literally, so I get emails, I get inquiries just because of the way I look, I guess. And I basically didn't spend my time forwarding that on to friends who actually do those shoots. So if you want some like Asian engagement shoot pre-wedding referrals, then hit me up, because I have them to give away like candy. So yeah.
So you just need to start like an associate brand called Steve and Dustin Shoot Asian portrait sessions, and that way we can come to one of the secret film events.
That's true.
It's a win-win, or holiday party, Christmas party,
Yeah. I'll be everyone's messy Santa. It'll be great.
That would be amazing. You guys would love the Christmas party. The last year we had the best DJ. We had a silent disco, and it was just, you could be Santa. You could put a fake and British accent. It'll just be fun.
I have to work on my British accent.
The DJ at the Christmas party last year Was it a wedding DJ or just a DJ?
He's done weddings, but he's just a really good DJ. I can't remember who found him. Somebody found him a few years ago, and he's just Amazeballs. And so, yeah, Amazeballs. But he
Trademark.
Copyright.
He's just really good. And so, and then once we hit the noise restrictions, and we get we hires silent disco headphones, kept going. So yeah, it's a proper party. Because it's nice is when you work in the wedding industry, you kind of sometimes will have ins with certain venues that will allow you to have the party there and stuff like that. I'm not the one who's organizing this. I'm just the one who's showing up and drinking, which is a bit different.
A running theme.
How did you guys come up with the name Amazeballs for the podcast?
I think Kari just says it. So it's a word in her vocab, yeah.
And I'm the only person in England that really says it. So that's why.
Got it.
I think it did literally come down to you just said to me, oh, why don't we call it this? And I was like, okay. that level of intense depth.
Yeah.
That was the intelligence you were after. Yeah.
We did surveys, workshopped, and I just said, why don't we just say, I say Amazeballs more often than anybody else does. I think when people say it around me, they're usually mocking me. And so it's mostly just to make fun of me and my terrible American phrases. I don't even think is it American? Does anybody else say Amazeballs? Do you guys say Amazeballs?
I think the first place I heard it was, in 30 Rock. I think Tina Fey said it.
Must come from there.
And
yeah.
Then everyone I knew for a while said Amazeballs all the time.
Pretty dated now.
What?
Yeah.
I love it.
I think so. I think it's still...
You're bringing it back.
Yeah.
I thought we were fashionable, Kari.
I don't think we are.
I've been lied to again.
Sounds like a repeat offense.
I'm pretty sure old people think we're cool, but then young people think we're just dated. I think we're in that really awkward in-between stage.
30s.
That's where we are.
Yay!
Yay!
On your guys' podcast, right after the royal wedding, you guys talked a little bit about Prince Harry and Princess Meghan. Are they still Prince and Princess, or are they Duke and Duchess now? I don't know.
I think she's a Duchess.
I'm 100% American over here. But you guys were talking about their photos and how, I forget which one of you said it, but somebody was saying, one of you said, when you looked at the photos, you realized you could be doing work for celebrities and other people. And it made me laugh really hard. And then you guys started talking about how one of the shots, it looked like maybe Harry was giving a hand job to somebody out of the frame, which also made me laugh very hard. There's been another royal wedding since then, but I didn't get to hear you guys' thoughts on Eugenia's photography. And I was just wondering, do you guys have anything to say about that? It's been a while,
what's funny is most the royal stuff doesn't, in England, we don't actually hear about it that much. Mm-hmm. I am pretty unaware of what the royals are doing in general. My sister, who still lives in Maryland, she asks me questions all the time about the royals, and I have no idea what the fuck is going on. I didn't know there was another royal wedding.
I found out a bit after. I think there was it's definitely the case that I think the royal love is bigger abroad than it is in the UK. We kind of, I think we had one or two friends who were really into it. But I think Harry and Meghan's one was sort of grabbed a bit more attention because obviously she was American and not white. Can I say that? I don't know. That was a big talking point.
Yeah.
People were excited for it because I think it was the first kind of seen as the first modern, slightly different royal wedding. And I think a lot of people do really love Harry. If they do like the royals, they do favour Harry and Wills, because they've always been seen as more down-to-earth royals, and so they're popular. But yeah, Eugene, found out about it afterwards. I think she's just known for wearing weird hats, and that's as much as literally all I could say on her and her sister.
I genuinely, is her wedding photos out there?
I think so. We can give you a live critique. Critique. Okay, let's do this.
Perfect.
Can you find a link, please?
I want to get back to this weird hats thing, because I was on your website, Marianne, and you were saying you wear a fascinator to all of your weddings, and then that got crossed out, and it said somebody sat on my fascinator. If anybody knows a a hat maker,
milliner,
milliner, you would love to make a new one. But I did notice you had photos of yourself shooting, and not a single photo of yourself shooting were you wearing that fascinator.
Yeah, it was gone because that fascinator got sat on quite a few years ago. So that's a really old bit of text. So I think it was at least 4 years ago. Janika sat on it in my car. So, and then ever since then, I haven't really like recovered into it. I wear hats to talk now because it's easier, but then the more you're moving your head around, it's a bit difficult. I will show you this hat. Hold on a sec. This will be an interesting one because it'll be like that. Is it that Jimmy Fallon bit where they do like what's in the box and they have to try and laugh and lie? Okay, this is one of the hats I currently wear. And
she wore this hat to my British citizenship ceremony.
Wow. You got to describe that hat for the listeners.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we should leave it a mystery. This is okay. So it kind of goes like this. It's sort of. I can't actually fit it in the webcam.
Where does one buy a head ornament like that?
Yorkshire. She's a Milliner in Yorkshire. But yeah.
Okay.
For the listeners out there, what Marianne just pulled down is a hat that has Tyrannosaurus Rex on it, peeling a banana.
But he's golden and he's wearing a black velvet bow, and the banana's glittery. So let's not shortchange this.
Yeah, he looks like he is making love to that banana.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. There's not really a backstory to that. It's just
it's a great hat. So I got my British citizenship a couple of years ago, and we had a big party for it. And she showed up to my like swearing in, like me pledging to the Queen. She like got off the bus and she's like wearing this hat. It was like the best thing ever, just to see her just like walking off the bus with a dinosaur and a banana on her head.
And I took the bus the whole way, like as in so around my local area, I definitely got looked at a few times.
Because you had a dinosaur jacking off a banana on your head.
Basically, yeah. And it was going to get messy.
And then when you got these odd looks, you're like, by the way, I'm also a psychologist. If you need therapy, here's my card.
When I got the odd looks, I think I just stared back.
What? Is there something on my head? Is there something on my face? What?
Do I have salad in my teeth?
I caught a few people trying to take a stealthy photo of me without my permission on the tube. So I just stared again. Yeah, eye contact. So I don't know if you guys have ever been to London, but eye contact in London is kind of like the highest offensive thing that you can do. Like if you eye contact on public transport, it's basically extremely uncomfortable for everyone around you.
Or it's like a marriage proposal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Destin, are you saying marriage proposals are highly offensive to everyone around them?
No, I'm saying that if you're making eye contact, you better be ready to put a ring on it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So in our episodes, we always do like random questions from people on the internet. Are you guys down to do like a few really random, weird questions?
Love it, yes.
Let's do some Q&A.
But Steve... Brian from a random Facebook group asks this. Tore the ass off my pants when the couple came into the coffee shop. How do I get out of here? I've been sitting here for 30 minutes making idle chat after I typically would leave the meeting. Thought I could wait till they got out. They're not leaving though. Please help.
Do you want a real answer or a comedy answer?
I want whatever answer you want to give us. Or them. More importantly, them. They're still sitting in that coffee shop.
Right now?
Patiently waiting.
We don't know how long Brian's been in that coffee shop with that potential bride and groom.
Brian might live there now.
What if the bride and groom did the same thing when they walked in? Like, there's something like about that doorway that's just like ripping the ass out of everybody's trousers. And so it's almost just like this like awkward staring contest of being like, I don't want them to know that my trousers are open. And the other person's like, my trousers are open. And they're going to be there until the end of time.
But will he get the booking? 100%.
I mean, at some point it gets so awkward that you don't. But then at some point, like, you guys are now best friends. Like, you live together now. Like, they're like your roommate.
And then you're an episode of New Girl.
You're in an episode of New Girl. I'm just picturing the coffee shop manager who's like talking to his accountant, and he's like, all right, we need more seats in these chairs. We need to, retain the people who come in on a day-to-day basis. How do we make that happen? What if we put in a secret device in the doorway, somehow rips the crotches out of people's pants as they come in? They'll never want to leave. They'll order coffee cake all day long.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, was it just me who pictured it as like a giant, like golden dragon door handle.
It's just you.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, I was picturing it as like a Tyrannosaurus Rex jerking off a banana door handle. But that might just be a personal thing, you know?
You know, Marianne, they do like custom door knockers. You could get like a custom door knocker of your door that is like the T-Rex and the banana. And so whenever somebody comes and knocks on your door, they have to like pick up the banana and shake it to get into your house.
What, like, let me in.
Yeah.
Let me in.
I hope you have one of those Ring doorbells, though.
So you can actually see it happening.
Yes.
I would almost like to say, like, you probably have like a sample album, right? So like you could put your sample album in a really awkward place to like shuffle up with the sample album and be like, all right, guys, great to go. And then, or like if it's behind you, you can just like awkwardly hold the sample album behind you.
So you're just walking out the door with the sample album over your ass. It's just a normal way people walk.
Yeah. I mean, chances are you're not booking the wedding because it's weird as fuck, but like it's better than nothing. Like, at least you leave and get to go home and see your family again. Whereas the other option is you just move into the coffee house.
This is true.
It's Brian's coffee house now.
You could like spill coffee on your pants. And then you're like, oh shit, I've got to take these pants off. Do you guys mind? My legs are literally on fire.
And then you strip.
And then you strip in the middle of the
comes on.
coffee shop.
And then this is the time you say, I'm actually Polly, and can we just have an orgy? Like, I feel like there's a really amazing connection to you. Like, can we just go the distance, like right here, right now, and just take off your pants?
Yes.
And then you say, here's my invoice for the booking fee.
And the dry cleaning bill.
I think these are all options. There's so many things you could do.
Let us know what Brian chooses.
It has to be the orgy. He's picking the orgy.
Yeah, I think we covered that. Brian's definitely going to get all the help he needs now. He just has to wait 2-3 weeks for this episode to come out. Have fun being stuck in the coffee shop. Tell them, Brian. And wow, it's going to be really awkward when he's drinking all that good coffee and then he's got to use the restroom, but he still can't stand up. Going to need to spill that coffee on his crotch real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amanda from a random Facebook group asks, I just got an email from one of my clients letting me know that the dog that her fiance has requested pictures with on their wedding day several times during different meetings is no longer with them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it hasn't been with them for several months, during which time we've had 2 phone calls where the fiance has brought up wanting the pictures still. But she says her future husband still wants these pictures with the dog on the wedding day next week and asked if I can take care of it because she can't deal with another breakdown. How do I respond?
That's a psychology thing, actually, Marianne.
I thought it was like that film with Hilary Swank and what's his face, and he writes letters as a ghost, and someone molds a pot. So I would say get a potter's wheel and
Potter's wheel.
Get a potter's wheel, get Patrick Swayze. We're going to go ghost on this.
Yeah.
And get the ghost dog.
Ghost dog.
And then the pot would be I feel like the pot would come out as, it would have stripes, obviously, because the dog claws would be there. And I visualize it as kind of like a cylindrical thing, very short because the arm reach is best for a dog.
Much like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all my answers are going to come back to that hat, actually, because it's just sitting in front of me on my desk. But yeah, no, when I say take care of it, I mean, also, that's a weird phrase, because in England, that means to kill someone. But the dog's already dead, right? So...
Well, the dog's already dead. It doesn't care. It's fine. I would say you're contractually obligated to shoot that photo, right? So just bring the dead dog and just do it. Like, that's what you've been asked to do. Like, this is your job. Like, pull your pants up and just do it. Like, just take the dead dog.
Pull your pants up, exhume the dog carcass, take it to a taxidermist, and get it done.
I mean, that's what I was like. If he's really he should have just had it taxidermied anyways. Like, taxidermy's in right now. Like, all the cool, like, houses and places have it. Like, it's a thing. So, like, just have a taxidermy dog. I mean, that's cool. You don't have to smell it. Just do it outside. It'll be fine.
Or so what I would do is I'd go that extra mile. I'd find photos of that dog, then go find a dog that looks exactly the same. Train it for about 9 months leading up to the wedding so it goes by the same name. And then you show up on the wedding day with the dog. And then you tell the couple, I've secretly had your dog this entire time.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
And then you shoot that reaction. Real documentary, real emotions.
Perfect.
Documentary?
Documentary.
It's documentary.
I do like where you were going with that, Dustin. Like, your dog never died. It's right here. I don't understand why it's like, your dog never died. I stole your dog.
Well, how else do you explain how you had the dog?
I went to heaven and I brought the dog back. All dogs go to heaven, Dustin.
Yeah.
Or you could say, I brought this dog back from hell. This was a terrible dog. You guys don't know what I went through to get your dog back.
If you really have that skill set to bring people back from heaven or hell, why the hell are you shooting weddings? Like, there's like so much better things. Like, you could be like the St. Peter that guards the gates? Just resurrect everybody. Like, that's just kind of, that'd be a really great skill set to have. It wouldn't be one that you'd really need for wedding photography, though.
But in this skill set, I'm imagining he doesn't have the ability to bring people back from heaven or hell. It's just dogs. Okay. So it's kind of worthless.
I mean, still, you can make a lot of money. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in that.
But so that's your skill set. But like you said at the onset of this podcast, I just do wedding photography because I love people. I like working with people.
Mm-hmm.
I care less.
I need that
about
creative
dogs.
outlet. Yeah. Saving dogs from heaven or hell. Not very creative.
When my skill set and my job kind of overlap, awesome. But otherwise, it's kind of like playing the harmonica.
I also really like money. I'm a big fan of money. So like, what if there was like, I could make a lot of money doing that. Even if I don't like dogs, I think I would still set up a business. Like, it wouldn't be, I'd play the heartstrings. I'd have like violins. I'd be like, really like being like, I can reunite you with your lost dog. I don't even like dogs. It just doesn't matter. Like,
but you know where I see this going? I see a recession happening. And I see, some company brings out like a drug that prolongs the dog's life. And so your business starts to go downhill. You start to get desperate. You can't fund the crack habit. So you need to like regenerate business. So you end up going around in the middle of the night with black gloves and looking for dogs.
That went dark fast.
yeah.
That's like the sequel to a movie.
Yeah.
It started out as saving dogs from the eternal damnation of hell and ended with just murdering dogs.
To keep your business alive.
Well, I mean, you need a source of dogs dying. That's how you make the money. So like, if dogs aren't dying, you got a problem here. So eventually it's going to have to happen.
Yeah. Or you need to learn how to stretch that skill set into like cats.
That's true. I think people would pay more for dogs than cats. People seem to get more. I don't know. Pet owners always like spending money on their pets. That's the truth. Anyways, sorry, way off topic. What's the
Do you
next
guys ever
question?
have, in the UK, do you guys ever have couples who want to get photos done with their pets? Like on the wedding day and stuff?
Ish. The UK is more particular about venues.
Mm-hmm.
So British people can't get married anywhere. You have to get like legally married in a licensed venue. And licensed venues tend to have a bit more rules. And so it's a little bit harder for people to bring pets. You don't really get like backyard weddings as much. You might have like somebody might set up a marquee for like the food in the backyard, but like you can only get married in like a licensed venue or a church.
Mm-hmm.
And so where we shoot and actually who does the actual marrying is a lot more specific than it is in the States. So like you don't see as many like flexibility with stuff like dogs. You do get weddings that have dogs. And people will bring them to their engagement sessions, but you don't get like that much of a flexibility. So a lot of times we shoot in a lot of the same venues because there's only so many places you can legally get married.
Mm-hmm.
Or they end up bringing it to the reception. So that's a way around it. Sometimes people will have someone bring their pet from their home to shoot in between the ceremony and reception. Or they'll, just do reception. Mm-hmm. So I think my record so far has been, I think a wedding had 12 dogs, but it was out in a field. So that was why. And the weirdest animals I ever had was a pygmy goat, I think it's like a blue-tongued skink, they call it, which is like a lizard, and a baby turtle. Oh, and a ferret.
Okay.
So
were you shooting a petting zoo or?
I was shooting the wedding of a vet, so there was actually a home reason for it. Yeah, she had 2 greyhounds, and they showed up for a shoot. But after that, for some reason, one of her friends, her vet friends, just sort of brought her animals along for a bit and then took them home. So yeah, it's quite rare though. Yeah, the pygmy goat was a ring bearer.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and he was called Hamish because obviously that's a very valuable piece of information that all photographers need to know internationally.
Absolutely.
So we got time for one more question, and then we're gonna have you guys like plug where people can find you and stuff. Dustin, do you want to pick a question?
Fred from a Facebook group asked this little question. I was asked to shoot a wedding this summer a few months ago. I said yes and told the couple it'd be $350 for 8 hours of coverage. This will be my first wedding. Yesterday, the bride asks me some questions about the wedding, and I let slip to her that I might not be able to shoot it. I'm trying to get an internship, and I applied to ones that are out of state. If I get one out of state, I'm not coming back for this wedding. Am I good? Brides seem real chill, but is it possible she's actually super pissed off and I should be worried? Please help.
Firstly, Fred, why are you doing an internship over money? Fred says.
Fred, so wait, so he
What the
gets
fuck,
paid
Fred?
nothing for the internship and $350 for the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I question
Fred.
Fred's life choices.
Yeah, poor Fred's had a very sad introduction to the world of wedding photography. Sometimes because my family still lives in the States, and so they'll be like, oh, can you just fly over for Memorial Day weekend? We want to do a big thing. And I'm just like, no, I can't. I had that booked 2 years ago. There's no way I can do that. They're just like, well, just, just take off of work. You're like, no, not really an option. Like, if I could have a broken arm and the flu and I still have to show up. Like, that's just how it is. So I wonder if Fred has a contract.
If it's his first wedding, I would bet not.
It's a verbal contract.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same in the States? Because in the UK, an email counts as like a verbal agreement that you have to honour. So is that a thing there, or?
I have to ask my attorney.
And check your emails for what you have
in the
sent.
state of Indiana, verbal agreements are legally binding, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, to actually like prosecute something like that, it's like a bit of he said, she said sort of stuff. Like it'd be very difficult to actually do.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Fred could go and he'd be fine, but I also still question his life choices. And I want to know what this internship was for. Like, we don't really have an internship culture here in the UK, so that's why I'm fascinated. Because I feel like this has got to be this has to be something really good.
Yeah, in the U.S., we really like free labor.
Mm-hmm.
So the internship program is really popular.
Yeah.
Did I just slag off a really big thing in America?
It's just a thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's still free labor. It's not like, don't worry, no one's getting paid, so no one's gonna come after you. It's fine.
Well, it technically wouldn't be free labor. They'd be doing it for college credit.
College credits?
Yes.
So technically you're paying.
Yeah, technically you're paying to work for somebody else as opposed to them paying you.
Because you're paying for the credits. I love that.
Marianne's face is like, this is a terrible idea.
I'm the daughter of a Chinese banker. Like, this is not compute for me. I've been paid since I was 12 to throw newspapers at people's doors. Like, what is this? Poor show. No, I don't.
Welcome to America.
What's going to happen is that he's going to let that bride down who paid absolutely nothing for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to shoot her wedding. She's going to go online and start ranting about how her wedding photographer canceled on her last minute. And then she's going to expect somebody to step up for free. Be like, oh no, I'll sign up. It's fine. I got it. Don't worry. And this is like where all those horror stories come from. Being like, my wedding photographer skipped town last minute and I don't have any budget left. Somebody shoot this wedding for free.
And then another Fred comes along and is like, yeah, I'll shoot it for free.
Yeah. And then the other Fred's like, oh, I actually really want to go to a concert that day. Oh, let's go to the concert instead.
Well, you get what you pay for.
So yeah, I'm not bitter at all about this whole thing.
Fuck you, Fred.
Fuck you, Fred. Just making my life more complicated. We were going to have a friend do it, but they just decided they'd rather not. And we've already spent all our money on booze and cake and stuff like that. So we only have about $200 left for wedding photography. Is that okay? You clearly know what you're doing. So, yeah.
You clearly don't need a living wage.
Yeah.
Are you free on Saturdays?
Saturdays in June?
In June? All day?
Yeah, all day. We'll give you food. We'll let you sit down once. $200.
It's going to be fun.
You don't have to edit. We'll take the raws. That's fine.
My favorite line is, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of fun. It's never fun if they say that.
You don't even have to wear a tie.
But here's my shot list. It's 14 pages.
Oh, there was a There was something that was going viral today. Bride put out like a message just to help out other bride-to-bes out there. And she said she had a checklist of photos that she wanted her photographer to capture on the wedding day. And she would not be paying the photographer until every single one of those photos had been checked off the list.
Wow.
I'm curious what that checklist looked like, because if it was like, show the cake, show the centerpiece, show a candle, I could go through that checklist in no time at all and just leave. Because, yeah, it would be like, photo of the bride and groom at the altar. Like, give me an hour. It'll be like a game, and we'll just get it done. They won't be good. They'll be shit. They won't be well lit. But you'll have your checklist, and I will walk away after an hour.
We're going to gamify this whole wedding photography thing.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Like, almost like a challenge, like one of those like find a thing challenge.
Oh, and you can shoot it all in like just like 2 stops overexposed. Mm-hmm. So you can just about see the edge of the cake and just about see like the edge of the rings or whatever.
Yeah.
But technically, you have done the checklist.
Would a wide shot of the entire room count and cover all of the images on the checklist?
And then where's Wally?
Yeah.
And you can give her a biro with it and say, here, mark it out yourself.
So predictably, the people on the internet were very pissed off about the checklist idea for obvious reasons, I think. But
I think it's brilliant. I think if it's one wide shot of the room, we're selling ourselves short, man.
you said you wanted a picture of yourself with every one of your bridesmaids individually. Yeah, if you print this off just 12 times, you can cut yourselves out and you're all good. Got it. Done.
Love it.
You can make your own photo collage.
When you first said that question, I couldn't really compute because I feel like I have just not encountered that person in my whole life. I've not even passed them in a supermarket. So I feel like I would know this aura and I would just be repelled. So it took me a while to kind of even really go through that in my head. I don't know. I think we're really lucky that I think we have really nice people to shoot for. I just can't even deal with that kind of person.
Marianne's website's very good at like alienating that person immediately, because she has like, I think, do you still have the Bridezilla thing on your website where she had a dinosaur on her website that said Bridezilla's not apply, I already have a dinosaur? I think, do you still have that on your website now?
I don't know.
I've seen several dinosaurs on the website.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Plus, your website made me like craving sushi.
Oh, yeah.
Several photos of dinosaurs on our website. A dinosaur jerking off a banana hat. Marianne, do you have a fetish?
I cannot comment.
Well, I know Dustin has to leave in like 2 minutes, so we should probably wrap this up. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for coming on our podcast. It has been an absolute delight talking to both of you and getting to know both of you. Where can people find you online?
So the YouTube channel is called Chua and the Bell. And Chua is spelled C-H-U, I should say that like an American, C-H-U-A, and the Bell, B-E-L-L. Oh, fuck, I can't talk like an American anymore. C-H-U-A and Bell, B-E-L-L. So Chua and the Bell is the YouTube channel. And then the podcast is the Amazeballs Wedding Photography Podcast. But that's also on the YouTube channel as well. So it should be fairly easy to find. If you see 2 girls sitting on a sofa not making out and just talking about cameras, you probably found it.
If you do find 2 girls on a sofa making out,
I think you found porn.
You might be on the wrong podcast.
Yeah, you're not on YouTube. You're on RedTube. There's a difference.
Okay. I get my colors mixed up.
Yeah. Very easy to mistake. Right next to each other on the tabs. And then my website is just my name, Karibellamy. So karibellamy.com. I didn't think of an original photography name besides my name.
Yeah, mine's just Marianne Chua. So M-A-R-I-A. I had to think about this. A-N-N-E-C-H-U-A.
Because British people say double instead of N-N. And it just like, you say double L instead of L-L. So,
really?
And Americans will say L-L and British people say double L.
And that's a very important fact that Americans now know.
Now we're going to start doing that. And we're going to change American culture.
This podcast was about important facts.
Important facts.
It would have ended a long time ago.
Oh.
Anyways, It was so nice, guys. That was really fun. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wedding Photo Hangover Podcast with Dustin and Steve. If you want to help us out, jump on iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a 5-star review. If you want to connect, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Wedding Photo Hangover or on Twitter at WedPicHangover. Dustin is on Instagram at Dustin_McKibben. And Steven is at Steven Van Elk. If you want to get involved with the awesome community of listeners, join the Wedding Hangover Facebook group. If you really want to warm our hearts, though, if you really want to make us happy, if you want to make us messy boys, you know what I'm saying, messy Santas, head on over to anchor.fm/Wedding Photo Hangover, and you can sign up to support us for as little as 99 cents a month. It's extremely helpful to us and to the making of this podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time your head is pounding, your limbs feel like dead weight, and your entire being aches for the sweet embrace of death. That's right, next Sunday after you shoot another wedding.
Another wedding. Dun dun dun.
Dustin, you gotta roll out.
That was good.
Yeah? You got to shoot today?
Always have a shoot every day, Steve.
Oh. Okay, Mr. I work.
All I do be shooting. All I do is shooting.
No, but that was good. I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, give me more. Come on.
Every day I be shooting.
Now it's gone a little bit Russian accent. I like this. Yeah.
Every day I be shooting.
Even better.
Oh, no, that was a lot of fun. Those ladies were, I felt, way more intelligent than us. Way more out of our league intelligent. But I want to talk to more people who are more intelligent than us.
All right, Dustin, this is like, we're going to have 3 weeks of guest episodes, like back to back to back. So I need you to give me a little something for the listeners. Just something for you and me and the listeners. You and me and the listeners make 3.
What would you like, Steven? A little nipple?
I need the goods. I need to hear your English accent. That's what the listeners want more than anything else in the world. We've got so many comments on your good accents, and we just need some more, just to please me.
Hello, governor.
So let's, I'm going to have to do a hard cut at some point in time in this, and then we'll just say bye. Love you, buddy. Bye.
Wedding photo hangover with Chua and the Bell, doing all the things that you know they do well. Oh, wedding photo hangover with Chua and the Bell. Oh yeah, what the hell?
Like, if I was really a smoozer, I wouldn't have like ranted against some of the equipment. I'd be like, no, I love everything. It's amazing. I'm just like, God, that lens sucks ass. Like, don't buy that lens. And then I was actually talking to the person next to me, and they were like looking at like the 55, and it's just like, no, don't buy that lens. That's crap. And then I wonder why Sony will never sponsor me. And I think that's the answer.
That's the answer.
But you're real and you're genuine, and there'll be a point after like the influencer boom where people will be desperate to have like really real sort of mean people, and that'll be your time. That'll be when you rise from the ashes.
The Phoenix.
Yeah, the ashes of the burnt 55 1.2.
Wedding Photo Hangover was edited this week by Steve Van Elk of Bespoke Tone. Go to Bespoke Tone for all of your photo, video, and audio editing needs. Woo-wee!